Have you ever wondered if excessive masturbation could affect your fertility? Many men have this question, but few have the courage to talk about it openly. And it's not because of shame, it's because of fear. Fear of finding out that this seemingly harmless habit might slowly be reducing semen quality, sperm strength, and even the ability to create life. The truth is that masturbation is a natural function of the male body. It helps relieve stress, improve circulation, and even releases hormones that promote well-being. But, like everything involving pleasure, the problem begins when it's done excessively, without rhythm or awareness. When the stimulation becomes daily, repetitive, and purely mechanical, the body stops responding in balance. During ejaculation, the body releases semen, a substance rich in proteins, minerals, and energy. Each drop contains millions of sperm cells, created by the testicles and matured over several days. The body needs time to produce this material with quality. That's why when the act is repeated many times in a row, without allowing natural regeneration, semen tends to lose density, volume, and vitality. This doesn't mean you'll become infertile from masturbating, but it does mean that your body needs intervals to maintain sperm quality. When ejaculation becomes constant, the body begins to spend more resources than it can replenish. Production continues, but with less strength and fewer viable sperm. In addition, excess stimulation alters the release of key hormones such as testosterone and prolactin. The first is the engine of fertility, the second, when elevated, reduces testicular stimulation. This hormonal imbalance can leave the body in a state of reproductive fatigue, directly impacting fertility in the long run. Pleasure is natural. The problem is rhythm. The body needs pauses, time, and balance to function at its best. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and today I'll explain what really happens to your semen when masturbation becomes too frequent, and where the line is between healthy pleasure and risk to fertility. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Because here I talk about men's sexual health based on science, without taboos, and with direct language. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed changes in your semen after periods of excess? Male fertility is the result of a silent and precise process that happens inside the body every day. It doesn't depend only on the amount of semen, but on the quality of each cell produced. And that quality is directly linked to hormonal health, testicular function, and most importantly, the balance between pleasure and recovery. It all starts in the testicles, where cells called spermatogonia are located. They are the starting point of all male fertility. With the stimulus of testosterone, these cells begin a transformation process that lasts between 60 and 70 days. At the end of this cycle, they become mature sperm cells, ready to fertilize an egg. This process is continuous but requires energy, nutrition, and hormonal balance to occur properly. Testosterone is the driving force behind it all. It regulates sperm production, sexual desire, erection firmness, and even mood. When testosterone levels are high and stable, the body produces strong sperm with good motility and healthy structure. But when the body is exposed to constant stimulation without recovery time, testosterone tends to drop, and with it, fertility quality. During ejaculation, semen is expelled, and the seminiferous tubules in the testicles are temporarily emptied. The body then needs time to refill them. It's like a reservoir running out. If the use is constant, volume and density decrease until the body manages to recover. That's why the interval between ejaculations is essential to maintain sperm quality. Semen is much more than a fluid. It carries nutrients like zinc, magnesium, selenium, and vitamin C, which are vital for sperm vitality. When masturbation becomes too frequent, the body loses these nutrients faster than it can replace them. The result is weaker sperm with less movement and lower survival capacity inside the female body. Fertility is a matter of rhythm. The male body was made to produce continuously, but also to rest. When stimulation is balanced, the reproductive system thrives. When it's excessive, the body wears out. And that's exactly what I want to show you now. What happens to semen when masturbation becomes too frequent and the body doesn't have time to regenerate? With each ejaculation, the body releases between 2 and 5 milliliters of semen, a fluid rich in proteins, hormones, and essential minerals. Inside it are millions of sperm, produced and stored for one purpose: to create life. But what most people don't realize is that this release requires energy and time to replenish. When the body is repeatedly stimulated, it can't maintain the quality of what it produces. In the first days of excess, the change is almost unnoticeable. The semen may appear thinner, with less volume and a clearer color. This happens because the body hasn't yet had time to produce enough new cells. It's as if the stock were being emptied faster than it's being restocked. As days go by, the impact goes beyond appearance. The concentration of active sperm begins to drop, motility, their ability to move, decreases, and the number of malformed cells increases. In other words, the body keeps producing, but with lower quality. Frequent ejaculation also affects the semen's chemical composition. Minerals like zinc, magnesium, and selenium are used in large quantities for sperm formation and protection. These nutrients act as shields, protecting the cells from oxidative stress and keeping DNA intact. When the body is forced to release semen constantly, it loses part of these reserves, and the next production cycle starts weakened. Additionally, excessive stimulation alters the hormonal environment that regulates sperm production. Prolactin, released after orgasm, remains elevated when pleasure is repetitive. This hormone, when high, signals the brain that the body has already fulfilled its reproductive role, reducing the command to produce testosterone and, consequently, sperm. The result is a tired body, slower testicular rhythm, and less fertile semen. The problem isn't ejaculation, it's not allowing the recovery time the reproductive system needs. The good news is that this condition is reversible. With proper pauses and good nutrition, the body regains the ability to produce dense, nutrient-rich, fertile semen. And that's exactly what I want to show you now: how hormonal imbalance and testicular fatigue come into play when pleasure is experienced in excess. Male fertility depends on a delicate balance between the brain, testicles, and hormones. It's like an orchestra where each instrument must play at the right time. When masturbation happens in balance, the system works in harmony. The brain releases hormones, the testicles produce sperm, and the body maintains desire and energy in sync. But when pleasure becomes repetitive and constant, this orchestra loses rhythm, and the result is what we call testicular fatigue. During climax, the brain releases prolactin, a hormone that signals the end of sexual activity and promotes relaxation. The problem is that when this process repeats several times in sequence, prolactin stays high longer than it should. This sends a message to the hypothalamus, the hormonal control center, saying that the body has already had enough pleasure. The brain then reduces the release of LH and FSH, two hormones essential for testosterone and sperm production. Without that command, the testicles slow down. They keep producing sperm, but in smaller amounts and with lower quality. It's like a factory working at half power to save energy. This gradual slowdown is what we call testicular fatigue. The body tries to protect itself from excess but ends up compromising fertility and sexual vitality. In addition, excessive masturbation raises cortisol levels, the stress hormone. When cortisol stays high, it partially blocks testosterone activity, reduces blood flow to the testicles, and alters cellular metabolism. This makes sperm form in an oxidative environment, more prone to DNA damage and with lower fertilizing capacity. In the long term, this combination, high prolactin, low testosterone, and elevated cortisol, creates a state of hormonal exhaustion. The man feels tired, desire drops, and ejaculation no longer feels as vigorous. The semen looks weaker, and pleasure shifts from rejuvenating to draining. The body is simply asking for balance. Fertility doesn't vanish overnight, it's gradually worn down by excess rhythm. And when the body finally demands a break, it's because it's already trying to recover from something you didn't notice happening. And that's exactly what I want to show you now: how sperm quality can be restored with the right regeneration time, proper nutrition, and hormonal recovery. Sperm are produced in the testicles and take about 70 days to fully mature. That means the choices you make today, what you eat, how much you sleep, how often you stimulate yourself, will reflect on your fertility 2 months later. The body is a machine of renewal, but it needs fuel and time to work well. The good news is that regeneration is entirely possible. The male body has an incredible ability to recover semen quality when you give it what it needs: nutrition, rest, and balance. The first step is to replace the nutrients the body loses through ejaculation. Semen is rich in zinc, selenium, magnesium, vitamin C, and amino acids, all essential for sperm production and protection. Zinc increases motility, selenium protects DNA, and vitamin C acts as an antioxidant. When the body is well nourished, sperm are stronger and more resilient. The second step is to give the testicles time. Avoiding excessive stimulation for a few days allows the body to recharge and produce semen with greater density and volume. This rest period also helps regulate testosterone and reduce prolactin levels, creating the ideal environment for fertility to thrive. The third step is to improve circulation and reduce stress. Sperm depend on oxygen and blood flow. Light physical activity, quality sleep, and relaxation techniques like deep breathing help restore balance between testosterone and cortisol, boosting sperm production. The fourth step is to avoid toxins. Alcohol, smoking, and poor diet directly harm sperm production and quality. They increase oxidative stress and reduce sperm motility. In just a few weeks, the body starts showing recovery signs: semen becomes denser, volume increases, and vitality improves. After around 70 days of balanced habits, the reproductive system renews completely. Fertility doesn't depend on abstinence, but on intelligent recovery. The body doesn't need to stop, it just needs to breathe. And that's exactly what I want to show you now: what truly harms male fertility, and often has nothing to do with masturbation itself. Masturbation alone doesn't cause infertility. What truly affects male fertility is imbalance, and that imbalance can come from many sources, most far from the act itself. The male body is sensitive to habits, hormones, and emotions. When any of these factors get out of control, fertility is affected. The first and most dangerous villain is chronic stress. When the body lives in a constant alert state, cortisol, the stress hormone, remains high. This suppresses testosterone production, reduces blood flow to the testicles, and harms spermatogenesis, the process of creating sperm. The result is a drop in both quality and quantity. The second factor is poor sleep. Most testosterone is produced during deep sleep. Sleeping too little or poorly disrupts this cycle and makes the body operate in hormonal deficit. Men who sleep less than 6 hours a night can have up to 30% less testosterone and lower quality sperm. The third villain is modern lifestyle. Excessive alcohol, smoking, and poor diet reduce sperm count, alter sperm DNA, and increase oxidative stress, a kind of chemical aging of reproductive cells. Bad fats, sugar, and fast food create an inflammatory environment that harms fertility. Another overlooked factor is excessive heat. The testicles need to stay slightly cooler than the rest of the body to function well. Sitting for long periods, wearing tight clothes, or keeping a laptop on your lap raises scrotal temperature and disrupts sperm formation. There's also the impact of excessive artificial stimulation, which confuses the brain. Constant use of pornography deregulates dopamine, alters the hormonal axis, and can reduce real sexual interest. This indirectly affects fertility, not for lack of sperm, but for lack of connection between mind and body. Notice that masturbation itself is neutral. What determines whether it strengthens or weakens you is the context. If you sleep well, eat well, and respect your body's rhythm, it's natural and healthy. But if it becomes an escape, addiction, or daily discharge, it becomes a sign of imbalance. Fertility is a mirror of your health. When the body is well, it flourishes. When it's overloaded, it fades. And that's exactly what I want to show you now: how balance is the key to keeping pleasure and fertility side by side, without guilt or excess. Masturbation doesn't destroy fertility. Imbalance does. Pleasure is a natural part of male health. It relieves tension, stimulates circulation, and even helps release hormones that improve mood. The problem begins when pleasure becomes a mechanical routine, without pause, awareness, or connection. When the body stops feeling and only repeats. Fertility is a reflection of your vitality. A balanced man, with quality sleep, rich nutrition, and a stable mind, produces strong, fertile, and healthy sperm even if he masturbates regularly. But a man who lives in excess, stress, and constant stimulation, even without realizing it, starts draining the system that sustains his fertility. The secret is to understand that the body has rhythm. Semen needs time to be produced, hormones need pauses to balance, and the brain needs silence to feel natural pleasure again. When you respect this cycle, the body responds, desire rises, energy returns, and fertility flourishes. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and I see this every day: men who arrive worried, thinking that too much pleasure has ruined their ability to be fathers. But in reality, the body is just asking for a break. When they adjust their rhythm, eat better, sleep deeper, and reduce artificial stimuli, recovery is remarkable. Sperm count rises, semen regains vitality, and the mind rebalances. Conscious pleasure is a sign of self-control. The man who masters his own pleasure masters his own body. He understands that pleasure and fertility aren't opposites, they re-allies when lived with intelligence and respect. If you've made it this far, congratulations, it shows you want to understand your body and take care of your sexual health maturely and consciously. Now, subscribe to the channel, because here I talk about men's sexual health based on science, without taboos, and in direct language. Leave a like if this video made you think, and comment below. My pleasure is conscious. And for you who stayed until the end, the next video is already on the screen. In it, I explain how to naturally increase testosterone production and improve semen quality with simple habits. Click and keep going with me, because understanding your body is the first step to mastering your fertility.